I brought you something. I know no one comes here, yo. That's exactly why I did.
You are either very brave or very foolish.
Probably both. Will you take it anyway?
Everyone in the village knew the story. The Frost Queen lived in the old stone hall at the edge of the valley, where the road ended and the cold began. No merchant stopped there. No traveler knocked. Children were told not to run too close to the gate, and even the dogs wouldn't go near it after dark. The hall had been hers for longer than anyone could remember, and the rule was simple and unspoken. You do not go in there. Idrun had grown up with that rule the same as everyone else. He'd also grown up watching the frost crawl a little further down the valley every winter, watching the harvest shrink, watching his neighbors burn through their firewood faster each year. The cold was spreading. Slowly, the way bad things always spread, quietly, consistently, until one day you looked up and realized it was everywhere. He was 22 years old and had no particular talent for bravery. But he was good at thinking, and what he'd been thinking for the past 3 weeks was this: someone had to go. And if someone had to go, it might as well be the person with the least to lose and the most to prove. So he wrapped a small box in kraft paper and tied it with the only red ribbon his mother still owned, and he walked to the end of the road. The gate was iron, black with age, and cold to the touch even through his gloves. He pushed it open anyway. It groaned like something alive and unhappy. The hall beyond was enormous, built for someone who understood scale as a language of power. Stone columns rose into shadow. The floor was pale gray marble veined with frost, every crack laced with ice. His breath came out in clouds. The temperature dropped with every step he took inside, until it felt less like cold and more like pressure, like the air itself was warning him to turn around. At the far end of the hall sat the throne, and on it sat her. She was exactly as the stories described and nothing like them at all. Blue-gray skin, smooth as carved stone. Long white hair falling perfectly still over silver-armored shoulders. A crown of dark metal and blue jewels sat on her head like it had grown there. Her eyes were the lightest color he'd ever seen, almost colorless like ice over a deep river. She was looking at him. He stopped walking. He hadn't decided to stop. His feet just made the decision independently. "No one enters this hall," she said. Her voice was low and precise, each word placed like a stone. "I know," Idrun said. "I came anyway." She rose from the throne in one fluid motion, taller than he'd expected. She walked toward him slowly, not rushing because she clearly didn't need to rush, and stopped 10 feet away. The snowflakes drifting through the air between them slowed, as if even they were holding their breath. "You're afraid," she said. "Extremely," he agreed. Her expression didn't change, but something behind it did. Some faint flicker of recalibration, like she'd expected a different kind of person and was adjusting her assessment. "Then why are you here?" He held out the box. She looked at it the way you look at something that doesn't make sense in the place where it appeared. A gift, wrapped in paper and ribbon, held out by shaking hands in the middle of her frost-carved hall. He could see her trying to categorize it and failing. "What is that?" she said. It wasn't entirely a question. "A gift," he said. "For you. I made it, well, most of it. The jam is from my mother's garden. The dried flowers are from the south field. And the letter," he swallowed. "The letter I wrote myself. It took me 4 tries." Silence. "No one has ever brought me a gift," she said finally, and the way she said it wasn't accusatory or soft. It was simply a fact she was reporting, the same way you'd report the temperature. As if it had never occurred to her to feel anything about it until just now. "I know," he said. "That's part of why I came." She didn't take the box immediately. She stood there for a long moment, the cold swirling around her like something sentient and loyal, and she looked at him with those pale, impossible eyes. He had the distinct feeling she was looking through him, reading something in him that he hadn't said and hadn't meant to show. "You came because of the cold," she said. "I came because of the cold," he admitted. "But I also came because I thought someone should. Someone should just come. Not with demands. Not with weapons. Just." He gestured at the box. "This." She reached out and took it. Her fingers were cold even through the paper. He felt it when she touched the edge of the box near his hand, a chill that sank straight to the bone. But she took it carefully, the way you take something you don't want to drop. She turned it over once, examined the ribbon. Then she looked at him again. "You said there is a letter." "Yes." "What does it say?" He felt his face warm despite the cold. "It says that I think the valley and the hall have been separate long enough. That cold and warmth aren't enemies. That my grandmother used to say the frost makes the spring mean more." He paused. "And that I'd like to come back. If that's allowed." The snowflakes between them drifted quietly. The frost on the marble floor glittered in the pale light. For the first time, something moved across her face that was not coldness and not anger and not suspicion. It was smaller than all of those. More fragile. "You would come back," she said slowly. "To a place everyone fears." "I would come back to you," he said. "If you'd let me." He didn't know what he'd expected. She didn't smile. He wasn't sure her face knew how yet, but he thought maybe it could learn. She didn't reach for him. She didn't say yes in any way that resembled warmth. What she did was step back just slightly and say, "The gate will be open tomorrow." And that was everything. He walked back through the hall, past the frost-veined marble and the silent columns, out through the iron gate and back onto the road. The cold followed him a little way, then let him go. He stood at the edge of the village with his heart beating too fast and his hands finally stopping their shaking and looked back at the hall. Through the dark stone and the winter air, he thought he could see, very faintly, a light where there hadn't been one before. Warm. Like the beginning of something. He'd brought a girl a gift in a place no one dared enter, and she had taken it with careful hands and promised him an open gate. He had no idea what came next. But for the first time in a long winter, neither did she. And that, for both of them, was the most alive either had felt in years.